Hello and welcome to the Education on Fire podcast. The place where we share creative and inspiring learning in our schools. Season 2, Episode 12. Hello and welcome back to Education on Fire with me, Mark Taylor. This is part 3 of our Barefoot computing project focus this week, and this is basically going to just round up a little bit about what we've talked about with Karen and Simon. I've got a short interview with 2 teachers from St Joseph's School in Islington who have been using Barefoot and how they've sort of adapted it and how they've used it in their school. And then after I've let you listen to that, I will come back and just discuss and sort of round everything up for the week and just see how this computing project can really help your school and hopefully just make sure that you've got ways to get back in touch so that we can try and discuss this further, and especially if you're a school that's used the Barefoot and can really help us sort of spread the word and get even more children involved in Barefoot. So this is 2 teachers from St Joseph's School in Islington. I'm joined with Daniel Ferry from St Joseph's School, and we're at the top of the BT Tower celebrating 1 million children being part of the Barefoot project. Daniel's a teacher from St Joseph's School. Can you just tell us a little bit about how you got involved in the project and how you've embedded it in your school?
Yeah, so we were introduced to Barefoot through our link with Islington Council, Katie Potts, and she told us that it was a free resource, which our school are obviously involved and happy with at the time. So I implemented the Barefoot computing vocabulary across the school just to do with computing lessons to try and encourage teachers to use that vocabulary and then feel confident within teaching that. And now we're 2 years down the line and we've started actually using it cross-curricularly, particularly in maths and critical thinking lessons and within science and other subjects as well now.
Fantastic. And what year group is it that you're teaching currently?
So I teach year 5 at my current school, but I also teach from reception up to year 6 in different schools every week.
Great. And how do you find it works across those different year groups? Is it the same sort of essence, or just a change of vocabulary or change of emphasis depending on how their age?
I think that it's important to obviously differentiate within the approaches and the concepts of Barefoot, but you don't want to put a ceiling on that, so we actually try and involve whatever we feel is necessary for that lesson. But obviously by the time they get into year 6, you would hope that the vocabulary is embedded within the children and they are confident in using that vocabulary across all subjects.
Fantastic. Well, thanks so much for joining me, and really pleased you get the chance to see the view and enjoy all the sights here from the top of the BT Tower. I'm also joined by Kevin. He's from St Joseph's as well. What year group are you teaching currently?
Currently year 4, but I'm new to primary, so my last year group last year was year 5, so that was my first time in primary school.
Great, and how have you found the whole project sort of, I suppose, starting really from when the volunteers first come in and tell you how about it and how that sort of transcends into your actual teaching of it?
Yeah, so the volunteers come in, so we're all got together and they take us through what Barefoot is all about and how to access the resources. But once they're gone, that's when the real hard work begins, I suppose. That's when you really need your computer lead teachers to take over and be enthusiastic about it and take it forward.
And how do you use it? Obviously, there's the computing part of the curriculum, which is one of the drivers of trying to get this into as many schools as possible. But how does it work across other subjects as well, and how have you tried to embed all that together?
Hugely. My background is teaching English in secondary education, and it would have been incredibly beneficial to have something like computational thinking to teach all the way up to GCSE and A-level, because kids would get up to A-level and still not be able to structure an essay, or still not to be able to put together their own stories, or still not to be able to deconstruct a poem. So that would have been incredibly beneficial if they'd been taught that back in primary. So when it comes to English teaching at primary school education, which is where I am now, that's what I use it for. So they do deconstruct poetry, they do put together their own poems, and they can actually construct their own essays themselves without me giving them a writing frame for it.
And that's really key, isn't it? Is for all the listeners. It's about the thinking. That's the essence of what the project's about. It's not about learning how to code per se. It's about the process that gives you that thinking and that way of being, which can enable you to code if you wanted to. But it's the thought process and everything within every subject.
And that's what we want. We don't want to just spoon feed the kids information that they just forget in a year's time. We want them to actually go away and be independent learners, independent thinkers, somebody who can actually just take it on board themselves and take it further.
Great, and just to finish off from the child's point of view, I mean, how do they find it? Do they engage in it, and do they find it an inspiring way to learn?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, because it's primary school, they almost don't know any different. We're not teaching them something completely different to what they've learnt in the previous year or two. It's something that they are coming to grips with, and they use the terminology, they use the vocabulary, they know how to use it, they know how it works. So yeah, they are, and they're primary school kids, so they are enthusiastic about absolutely anything you bring into the classroom, and they love
Fantastic. It sounds brilliant, and it's a great project. And over the course of these 3 interviews, I hope from you at home listening that you've really got a chance to experience what it's like from the BT putting the whole thing together with Barefoot and Cass through to the volunteers and the teachers providing it on the coalface, as it were. So thanks very much for joining me.
No problem.
And thanks for your input. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
So I think you can really hear from that just how once you've had the workshops, once it's been embedded in your school, just how you can just expand it into every area of the curriculum. You can support all teachers in all classrooms from it, and I guess if you've got a computing lead person who really understands it, then that's of great benefit. But it really is for every teacher in the school to really enhance and utilise really and really make the most of it. So the biggest takeaway I think with this is one, just it's a free resource. So just go to the Barefoot CAS website, which is barefootcas.org.uk. And just take a look around there and see what that is, and hopefully over the last 2 parts on Monday and Wednesday you've heard sort of the enthusiasm of Simon, who actually delivered the workshops, and also the vision that BT has with Barefoot to kind of just expand it more and more, take it to 5 million children by 2020, I think is their plan, and also then to get parents involved as well, so they understand how the project is and how they can support children at home, and just have this general tech understanding as a fabric of children's learning, in the same way as we support them with their homework at the minute with maths and English and other topics. And the computing idea and computational thinking is part and parcel of all of that as well. It really is just it's just getting everyone involved, and I think what this week has really shown me is the fact that it's not something we can do on our own. It is a question of being a bigger community. It's BT working with Barefoot and working with the Computer at Schools organisation. It's about teachers taking on board the opportunity that they have, and it really should just make us think about actually how can we work together, and can we bring other schools in together? Can we support them with the information that we have, and not just through the Barefoot and the computing, but other skills that we have too? And it really is collaboration and sharing, which I think is the key to striving and to growth, and expanding both our own professional work and as well as the idea of what the children can achieve as well. And I think often just showing them that you can expand in that way is often more beneficial than just the actual inputted knowledge which we are doing. And as you heard then when I was chatting at the BT Tower, it's about thinking. It's about giving the children the opportunity to think and expand, and then just see where they go, and just support them just to really explore what life and learning has to offer. And I think that's the most exciting thing about the whole thing. So if you're a Barefoot school and you've had the project in, please get in contact. If you go to educationonfire.com, you can leave a comment under the episode. And I'd really love your experiences of what you've actually done in your school, and just get a conversation going about really, how has it affected your school? How is it different from before you had it in there? And both in terms of delivering the computing curriculum, but also how it's affected your school beyond that as well, so that schools that haven't actually had this experience yet can really get an understanding of the benefits it could have. And so thanks for listening. I hope you've enjoyed this week and having 3 episodes. Please get in contact and let me know as well. Just drop me an email through the website if how you've been listening to the show this week, and whether the 3 episodes have worked for you, and whether you're listening to it in your car on the way to your commute into school, or whether you listen to it in the gym or taking the dog for a walk, whichever it is. It's really interesting to know how you consume the podcast, and anything that we can do to make it better and improve. if you've enjoyed listening, please leave us a review on iTunes. That's always really helpful. It just helps get the message out there, and the more people that we can create in our community to hear the podcast, then the more scope we have to really improving the lives of us all as teachers, and also the children as well. So I look forward to chatting with you next week. Next week I will be talking about the Apps for Good project, which is another amazing thing where children create their own apps, and there's a big competition, and some of them get their apps on an app store in Google Play, which is just incredible. And I think you'll see the excitement that comes from the children when I've interviewed them at their launch just a few weeks ago. What a great project that is. So again, thanks for listening, and I'll speak to you next week. Thank you for listening to the Education on Fire podcast. For more information, please go to educationonfire.com.